A second. He throws a coin into the fountain. This second, this throw, will alter the fate of humanity beyond recognition. Perhaps it is precisely because of this throw, which will trigger a chain of events, that the human foot will one day set upon the surface of Mars for the first time. Perhaps this coin will be picked up by a vagrant, who, using its liquid value, will obtain a dose of alcohol, become drunk, and in an uncontrollable state commit a crime, for example, killing the wife of a scientist as she returns home. Unwilling to witness the world any longer, he will retreat into his laboratory, dwelling in unique metaphysical states and exploring them. Ultimately, this seclusion will yield the greatest discovery in the history of science. This is how I see the world. I see in it every speck of dust, every whisper of wind, as the creators and executors of destinies, who are merely manifestations of a more global and incomprehensible creator. A second. In our world, everything is predetermined. Your life and your death, your birth and your development were influenced by the tiniest quiver of a blade of grass in the ancient world, by the tender kiss of lovers during the Renaissance, and by a bright ray of sunlight at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries. Taken together, they and similar manifestations of the higher will created your present, yet for them, that time, the time of their lives, your present, and their future were incomprehensible, limited as they were by the boundaries of their consciousness and knowledge, including metaphysical knowledge. What seems simple and ordinary to you appeared impossible to them, even though they influenced it in the most direct and unconscious way. A second. A tiny quiver of a blade of grass. And perhaps it was precisely this that caught the gaze of that very cow, which produced nourishing and beneficial milk for your ancestors, who, in turn, set into motion a chain of actions and inactions that ultimately led to your birth. A second. It was this very second in antiquity, just as seconds in the present and future, that allowed you to compose lines such as these, lines that are far more than mere literature. This is metaphysical alchemy. It is not an attempt to find the recipe for the philosopher's stone in words, but the philosopher's stone itself, touch it, and gain eternal life through the comprehension of eternal knowledge, the very code of the universe and the Almighty, which all the greatest minds have long and painfully sought. Perhaps no one in history has come so close to the heat of truth, but it does not burn, for the stages of the great work were predetermined, and you approach the truth not as a physical being, but as a metaphysical essence. The Ouroboros closes, in the very second the last word is created, nothing more need be done, in the beginning was the word, and at the end it will be the same, the world concludes as it began, for all, like time itself, is an eternal Ouroboros. When a minute ends, all begins again with the first second. At the moment the first word was created, the last word was created as well. All has already been created and resides in consciousness, awaiting only to be extracted and transcribed. This is not a cheat sheet for an exam, it is metaphysical fabric, flowing from the eternal source beyond good and evil. A second. What is it? A limited interval, or an infinite one? What does it define, and by what is it defined? What does it contain within itself? Is it not the personal, subjective perception of reality of humanity? A second is a stroke to which we tie certain events, like a stake in a meadow that prevents the cow, our consciousness, from wandering chaotically, and therefore freely. This freedom is often called madness, and almost never genius. Thousands of clouds drift across the sky, what is a second to them, and how do they perceive it? Time exists only in human consciousness. For humans, stones, flowers, clouds, and animals, time does not exist, nor is it necessary, they have nothing to explain to one another, and they do not seek definitions or explanations. Their lives have no temporal boundaries, they know birth, death, and other events, sometimes occurring quickly, sometimes slowly. Deprive a person of time, and they lose everything on which their understanding of the world rests. They will not be able to distinguish a baby from an old man. To them it will merely be a difference of forms, species, or existences. Are not those the same for us in relation to what we zealously call extraterrestrial life? Deny a prisoner the ability to record and annotate each day spent there, and he will never tell you how long he has been confined. Time is our shackle, the thing that binds us within the world and reality, but the truly mature exist beyond time, for he who is above matter can exist in the past, present, and future simultaneously. Time is the thread that all those who fear true freedom cling to. Consider what would happen if you were deprived of this lifeline. All your plans would collapse, the impossible would occur, many would cease to understand one another, and chaos would ensue. But was this not the true nature of our world before humans invented time? Primitive humans had no concept of it, nor its divisions, but was the world not created by the Almighty in precisely this way? Without defining and comprehending time. Time is a superstructure built atop the foundation of our consciousness. It has never truly existed, and it never will. It is merely a simplification for mundane, everyday life. True humans, metaphysical beings, exist outside time, as one of its chains and limitations. Realize that we do not live in time, being part of it, we create it. And all that you can create, you can govern, what you can govern, you can control. In a single second, I can exist in any space, any era, with any person who ever existed for me, for time is their creation, as it is now mine. Moreover, the concept of time is often tied to sequence. When a second follows a second, a minute, an hour, these notions are interdependent. Without one, the others cannot exist. Yet for those who truly perceive, no fast or slow process of transformation, called aging or otherwise in different spheres, is necessary. By knowing the universe metaphysically and seeing into the very essence of creation, in the eyes of the Almighty, one perceives all transformations at once, as well as all preceding states. Those limited by ordinary consciousness and metaphysical sight will never grasp the true meaning of these words, for the world of matter blinds like a veil or curtain. The attempt to remove this veil was called enlightenment in our world, and some humans even glimpsed the true light emanating from the depths of the universe. Each of us can govern our own time, and here I do not mean diary entries or schedules, I mean the delay or acceleration of perception of objective processes, all of which are mapped in this world from beginning to end, down to the smallest movement of a stone. The first action in the material world created all actions from beginning to end. The same applies to the metaphysical world, though there, unlike the material world, choice is possible. The first world is the execution of a script, the second is its creation.